Oh, okay. Well, that was quick. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start a few minutes early. I just sent the invites out, so probably Animist will be joining me. Hopefully, Mary will be joining me, and Cole if he feels like it. But I thought we would talk about how well. Let me back it up a little bit. So, Lunar Wisdom had a viewer comment or question about somebody had asked her if she felt that legitimate witches have to be initiated into a British traditional Wicca coven in order to be a legitimate witch, or something to that effect. Later on, I'll link the video below so you can go and watch it completely in case I'm misrepresenting this question, but I believe I have the gist of it because I watched the video and I commented on it. And I think this is an interesting topic because I often hear people say that various things, and you have mudslinging on various sides. I've seen mudslinging from traditional Wiccans towards other Wiccans or towards other people who claim to be family traditional witches. And then I've seen mudslinging from witches to Wiccans, and it just happens back and forth. And I mean, really, it's ridiculous. If you want to participate in that, whatever, that's up to you. I don't see any point in it. I think that everybody's practice is legitimate because that's their practice. That's what they do. I mean, if you are following and practicing what you believe, that's legitimate. So you don't have to be in something to be legitimate. I think that's a serious misnomer. And I think it leads to sort of these power trips where people can stand up on a high horse and say, those people who practice that way aren't legitimate, or they aren't witches, or whatever. And I've heard it on all sides. So it's not just one side that does it. Let me see. Hey, Comedic Witch, how's it going? Hey, Mary. Hey, Mary, if you want to join me, I sent you an invite. I could also post it in the chat for you, and you could join if you'd like. I am Trash. Hey, Trash. Rebel Child. Hey, Rebel. Hey, how's it going? So that's what we're going to be talking about, and it is a Patreon-only hangout. So just my Patreons can join me. But we're going to be discussing, for those of you who came in a little bit later, this concept that you have to be associated with something, or somehow there's people out there who are not legitimate witches. And I think this is a good topic. I think it's really quite ass backwards, to be quite honest, because first of all, nobody calls themselves a witch unless they're really drawn towards that path. Random people walking down the street just don't go, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to start calling myself a witch. Usually there's something inside of you that draws you to that, and you begin to study it and you begin to practice it. And it's something intrinsic in each of us. There's something about it that attracts us to it. If we're not attracted to it, we move on to something else. And I've seen lots of people do that. People get into witchcraft and they find out, oh, it's not really for me. And they go and they start practicing something else. And that's just them finding out that what they're doing is not for them. Those of us who stick with it for years and years, and some of us centuries, there's something about it that really draws us to it. And that's why we practice it. And so in that regard, that makes us legit, whatever legitimate means, it makes us quote unquote legitimate. Okay, yeah, sure. You're welcome, Mary, no problem. It's an open invitation, so you don't have to take it. Let me see. Clayton Cozart says, do you think witches are born or made? I think it's both. I think that you're born a witch, but it's something that maybe you're not aware of until later on, and then you are attracted to it, and you then begin to study it and you begin to practice it. But I also do believe that anyone can learn to do it. It's not, I mean, it's in of itself, it's not some, it's not rocket science or brain surgery. I mean, it's anybody can practice it. But as for how effective it is, I mean, I think that's up to the individual. And I don't think it means that if you practice tradition A over tradition B, that somehow your magic is more or less effective. I think that that's, again, that's a different way of looking at it. And it also depends upon what you are trying to do. I know that there are people out there who study magic and they do something, they cast a spell and it doesn't work. And they're like, oh, well, I practiced it and it didn't work. And I moved on to something else. Good. I'm glad. Because people like that who simply just want results, you know, they're not really willing to actually look at themselves and work on stuff and study, then yeah, that's, you know, that's just the way it's going to be. So it doesn't make, just because, I mean, if you're studying something just for the fact of studying it, then that's, you know, I don't think it's going to be effective no matter what you do. And so a lot of people look at witchcraft as only the use of magic, and that's okay. If that's what you look at it for, then that's fine. But there are a lot of people, such as myself, who it's a philosophy, it's a way of life, it's a way of looking at things. It's there's a lot of great occult knowledge out there to access. Ancient occultism is what led to science, and astrology led to astronomy. Alchemy led to chemistry. You know, all of the occult, quote unquote, sciences of the day gave birth, led us into the scientific revolution. A lot of people don't like to look at that because they like to say, oh, witches are a bunch of superstitious people who believe in magic. Yeah, that's part of it, but there's a lot of great occult wisdom out there. And it gave us a lot of our scientific study. Even the scientific method that we have today is born out of people who were studying alchemy and who were studying, quote unquote, occult sciences. Let me see who else is out there. Doc Illusion. Hey, Doc, how's it going? I sometimes think born. Okay, well, if you believe that people are born witches, that's fine. I mean, that's your opinion. There's nothing wrong with your opinion. Yes, fate makes witches, I think. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go so far as to say, I mean, you could really keep expanding upon that, you know, what makes a person a witch or doesn't make somebody a witch. I mean, again, it's really your opinion. As you speak, my wife is right next door at CBN celebrating Rosh Hashanah at the big annual event over at CBN. Wow. Okay. That's, yeah, I mean, I really don't care about Christians and like CBN. The only time it bothers me is when they try to pass some kind of legislation that affects people, or tell somebody who they can or cannot marry, or say that one religion is more superior over the other, or, you know, somehow interfere with somebody else's life. But as for, you know, Christians believing in Jesus and all this stuff, you know, who am I to judge? You know, I mean, I have crazy ass beliefs too, so whatever. But yeah, that is interesting, Fishhead, that you live next to CBN. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to do that. Well, they'd probably kick me out of there anyway once they found out I was a witch. Let me see. I'm trash, I believe, to an extent. Let me see. Yes, but you don't have to cast spells to be a witch. You could be thought towards your path early on by who knows what. Yes, but you don't have to cast. Yeah, Doc, I would actually disagree with that. Sorry. I would say that yes, to be quote unquote a witch, you would be casting spells, because that's like it's like a painter who doesn't paint, or a mechanic who doesn't fix cars. You could call yourself a witch, not cast spells, I guess, but I don't really necessarily think it makes you one. I think that it's a whole historically what a witch is someone who casts spells. I guess that's the best way to describe it. And if you call yourself a witch and don't cast spells, then I guess you're sort of to be sort of inflammatory, you're cosplaying. But if you want to do that, go right ahead. Again, not me to stop you. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. Let me see. Practice takes years. Yeah, it does. I think it does take years. I am trash truth. Maybe, but again, I don't believe in preordained stuff. Hey, Mad Witch, how's it going? Good to see you in here. I hope things are going well with you. Send me a message. I'd like to talk to you. After this, Talon Winged answer, if by legitimate you mean someone initiated into addition or coven, then yes, I am. However, over the years, labels mean less and less to me, so who cares? Yeah, agreed. And I'm actually going to talk on that subject. I apologize. I'm going to be right back. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So yes, I wanted to actually touch on that topic. Yes, so if you want to consider yourself part of a tradition, then yeah, in order to be a part of a tradition, you need to be initiated into that tradition and accepted into that group. But to give again a historical perspective, when Gerald Gardner claims to have been initiated in the New Forest Covenant in 1939, there was a lot of people who reached out to him who said that they studied witchcraft. So there's a lot of other people who are in the background who believe that they studied witchcraft or believe that they were part of a family tradition or were studying, Cecil Williamson, Sybil Leek. There's a whole bunch of other people besides just Gardner. So I don't want to, only pick on Gardner in this respect. But my point is that that the idea of Wicca became synonymous with the Gardnerian witchcraft. And later on, the term Wicca really spread, and a lot of people started writing books on Wicca because it was more acceptable to the general public. But it is in itself still the practice of witchcraft. But it was, it kind of spread and populated, and all these other people began to, have Wicca for the solitary practitioner and all this stuff. So there's a lot of people who call themselves of the Wicca, and that is actually a proper use. You are of the Wicca, who are not in a coven, who are not part of Gardner's line or lineage, or not part of Alexander's lineage. Alexander's was somebody who started another tradition, sort of based off of Gardner's. That's a whole nother thing I'm not going to get into. But so there are a lot of people who today who practice Wicca and they've never been initiated. They don't consider themselves to be part of a lineage path. And I believe that they are, quote unquote, just as legitimate as somebody who has actually been initiated into a Gardnerian coven. It doesn't make that person who hasn't been initiated a Gardnerian, and vice versa. But it's still legitimate. I think that it's enough with the mudslinging and enough with the passive aggressive mudslinging that I see out there. People attacking Wiccans for saying "blessed be" and all of this crap. I'm really tired of this passive aggressive mudslinging. We're all as legitimate as as can be, and that you just have to kind of accept that and understand that everybody has a different path, and it doesn't mean that their path is any lesser or greater than your own. Let me see. All right, later. I just popped in to call everyone a Nazi. Oh, okay. Hey, Shane, how's it going? Let me see. I agree. Spellcasting essential witchcraft. Text. Oh, okay. Yeah, Mad. You can text me. Becoming a witch takes years. I just one spell for holding or something doesn't really. Yeah, exactly. Shit. As an atheist, they, CBN's BS, would kick me out as well. Oh, yeah, of course, because atheists are just as bad. I mean, you're considered to be Satan worshippers and eating babies and all this other stuff, or even worse, you're I forget exactly how they say, but like a non-believer is supposed to be worse than somebody who just believes differently, because somebody who believes differently is lost, whereas as somebody who outright denies God is a blasphemer. Somehow that's supposed to be worse. I don't know exactly how, but yeah, I agree with you. Let me see. Hail Satan. Hey, what's up, Red Devil? Well, I suppose, let's see, Doc Illusion says, well, I suppose the way you frame it, I would agree, but I see any mystic or esotericist as a follower of the path of knowledge. I mean, just look at the etymology. Maybe I missed something. Okay, Doc, sure. Yeah, I agree with you there. Were you the one who posted that not all witches cast spells? I don't exactly understand how that, maybe you can clarify that for me. I'm missing something. Laughing out loud. Is it a lifestyle? Is it something you live every day, or just something someone does on Halloween? I don't know why you call yourself I am trash. What's up, guys? Hey, Merry morning. I'm eclectic Wicca. I'm not initiated in anything traditional yet, and yeah, not yet. Yeah, and I think that I don't think there's anything wrong with eclectic Wicca either. I mean, it's just it. You know, yes, I don't think there's anything wrong with eclectic Wicca. I mean, I consider myself very eclectic. I consider my practice very eclectic. You know, my own personal practice that I have is eclectic. You know, I have the traditional practice when I'm in a group, but my own personal practice is very eclectic because I've taken bits and pieces of various different things and incorporated it into my practice. So even though I'm, you know, initiated into a British traditional Wicca coven, I have my own personal practice, which is very, very eclectic. And if you look back at Gardner's practice, at least a lot of the public material, his practice was pretty eclectic too. He claims that he received material from the New Forest Coven and then put in other elements from Aleister Crowley and other bits and pieces. And so his practice was very eclectic. Gardnerian Wicca and Alexandrian Wicca, British traditional Wicca paths, they are essentially what that person before them practiced. So when you are practicing Gardner's form of witchcraft, that's what you're practicing. You're practicing Gardner's form of witchcraft. So a lot of people who are eclectic are practicing, you know, Bob's type of Wicca practice, or you know, or Dave or Jim's or whatever their name is, they're practicing their own form of Wicca. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. Oh, you're talking about Wicca now. It all makes sense. Wicca is new, bro. Wicca is new, bro. Hey, Doc, I would love to find out more information about that. It is new in what sense compared to what? If you are getting results, then you are a witch. Yes. Yeah, no one path is right. Yeah, exactly. Or chat with a bunch of, oh yeah, he knows that, Mary. The oldest witches in the world were shamans, and shamans don't cast spells, so a misunderstanding. Yeah, Doc, I also don't agree with you there. I think that if you look back in history, shamanism probably led to witchcraft, but witchcraft is something that was believed to be practiced by people during the Middle Ages. So it's a chicken or the egg thing. It's evolutionary. I mean, all religions come from some sort of a shamanistic belief. So any religion does, and any practice, any belief, any ideas, even the concept of magic is very intertwined with religion. That's why, you know, there's magic in the Bible. There's history of it. It's just very wrapped up in it. The problem is when you begin to take the fairy tales and everything literally. Like if you take the Bible literally, you'll go insane because there's no possible way you can take it literally. You have to take it metaphorically. You have to understand that it's a perspective. It's it's mythology. It's the Jungian archetypes. It's what we do every day in storytelling and making movies and creating stuff. There's a lot of creativity in the human imagination, and to understand that is to understand how magic and religion works. And if you take it literally, it begins to fall apart, and you know, then you have to start proving that unicorns exist. And it becomes very difficult to prove that. My baby eating habits are mine. Yes, I just called me a different name. Yes, I know I have witches. Witchcraft is a practice that takes years to cultivate. I agree, spellcasting is essential to witchcraft. Hello there, Hellbound and all. Hey, Matthew, how's it going? Doc Lucian, I know several shamans that do spell work. I'm trash, can't find a label for my practice. Fuck me, as much as I like, we will never agree on some things. Yeah, Fishhead, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I don't know what else I can do or say, or, you know, I'm 50 years old. You know, maybe one day, maybe when I'm 60 or 70 years old, I'll believe what you believe, but I just don't. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know what else I can do, what else I can tell you. You know, I have crazy ass beliefs. Accept it, don't accept it. I'm willing to always listen to you and always talk to you, but I'm probably 99% not going to change my mind. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, there's probably elements of you that I don't maybe agree with, but I'm going to accept it because I accept individual people based upon individual basis. Now, if I start telling you that you can't marry so-and-so, or you can't, you know, your wife can't have an abortion because of this, because of my holy book, or I start trying to, you know, go around convert people or blow up buildings in the name of Wicca, then maybe you can, you know, then maybe I really got some serious problems. But my practice hasn't gotten to that point yet. Everyone's theist creates God in their own image. Yes, exactly. Is it okay to do magic on people without their consent? Red Devil, that's a really good question. So yes, there's people out there who believe that it is that's the unethical line. It's when you start casting spells on other people, and I tend to agree with that. I think that when you start trying to change other people's minds using magic, then that's when you draw a line. But there's also, yeah. So that's a big debate. But I think that there's a lot of evidence to show that being able to manipulate other people completely is lacking. So I don't know how effective that actually is. Like, if you believe that you can effectively alter someone's perception or someone's mind, I think that there's a lot of evidence to prove that that's probably not capable of magic. But again, that's my opinion. There's other people out there who would probably disagree with me on that. But whatever. Depends on the context. Be more specific. Fuck the Bible. Taking the Bible literally makes me want to die. Yeah, exactly, because it's very insane. There's a can of worms. All religions do not come from shamanism. They come from an eventual innate knowledge that we all are mortal. Yeah, Fishhead, I agree with you. I think that if you look back at known human civilizations, you will see that when people began to bury their dead and place flowers in their grave, the concept of either honoring the dead, respecting the dead, or believing that the dead went to somewhere else. I think that concept of mortality began to inflame the imagination of people, where they began to think about, what is beyond just our regular world and what happens after someone dies and all of that. And I believe that, I don't know, I don't know of any hard evidence for it. I don't know if there's any cultural anthropologists who have done a lot of study on that. But I think that I think it's a good theory, this concept that religion has evolved, over time, and the earliest types of practice that humans did was a form of shamanistic practice. Even though we're more sophisticated today, it's still based upon the belief and the idea of what is beyond our world. And again, that's a big, huge debate, and there's all kinds of things you could throw in there. But that's what I believe, at least. That's where I believe, I think. What about witches in other parts of the world, especially for those who do not consider what they ingrained in their culture? Shadow Sun, that's an excellent question. And I think you will find that every culture has a name for their own practice. So, for example, voodoo, you could call it witchcraft, but it's voodoo. That's what they call it. That is their practice. Santeria, yes, you could call it witchcraft, but it's Santeria. That is what they call their practice. They call it Santeria. Somebody who's a brujo, a bruja, that's what they call themselves. So that's what they practice. You know, it's, yes, you can call everything witchcraft, but each individual practice has its own name, you know? So I would be respectful and call that culture's practice by that name. Oh, hey, thanks, Red Devil. Just super chat of $5. Thank you so much, Red Devil. You are awesome. Have a droller menu cheeseburger on me. Have a droller menu cheeseburger on me. Thank you, Red Devil. I appreciate that. I will see that in probably several months, because the new adpocalypse, you know, a lot of people have lost ad revenue. So by the time, because the minimum amount you can get from YouTube is $100. So it's going to take me a long time, but thank you. I appreciate that, Red Devil. Let me see. Yeah. What do I believe? Well, I mean, yeah, Fishhead. Yeah, sort of. I don't know, Fishhead. We got to get together and talk sometime, because I think it would be really interesting to talk with you. And I know that's it's been an open invitation. I know you're busy and you had a lot of personal stuff going on, but it's an open invitation. So maybe you and I can chat about that, because I love talking with people who think my beliefs are silly, or, you know, or whatever. I think it'd be really interesting. Maybe you can convince me otherwise. Let me see. Which Wicca? It just means wise one, usually of the forest. That's a good question, Doc. I actually don't know if that's what it means. Wicca, you know, I mean, the first appearance of Wicca is from like a 16th century document. It's actually pronounced Witcha. It's actually where we get the term witch from, is from Witcha, because it was an old Anglo-Saxon term for, and also witchcraft. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but there was a, that's where we get the term witchcraft from. But Witcha means witch. A male witch was a witcha. A female witch was a witche. A group of male witches was witchens, where we get Wiccan, and then a group of female witches was witchen. So Wicca, what we have today, Wicca, is essentially the same word as witch. So as for etymology, I've heard, I can't exactly think of it right now, so I don't want to give you the wrong information, but yeah. Well, I'll have to come back to that. Like, this gives the man money. I'm kind of on the same page, and my solo versus group practice are very different. Yeah, agreed. I have no holy book, so when it comes to abortion, yeah, exactly. But I think, Fishhead, what I was meaning by that is, if my beliefs somehow impede or encroach upon what you want to do in your life, I think that that's wrong. You know, I think that people can have crazy ass beliefs if they want, but I think that when it begins to encroach upon other people's freedoms, I think that that's where it begins to interfere with other people. That was kind of what I meant by that. There has been studies on it, and you are right with the wanting to believe on what happens after we die. Yeah, and I think it's what happens after we die, but also looking at another world, because I think that the fear of death, or understanding one's mortality, is a big part of most religions. But you will also see that there are other aspects of religion, like wrapped up in the concept of morality, or another world, or, you know, there's a lot more to it than just, you know, oh, I'm afraid I'm afraid I'm mortal and one day I'll cease to exist, so I'll believe in a fairy tale. I think it's a little more complex than that, you know, and you know, to kind of minimize it that way is, you know, it's not giving a complete picture. But I agree with you. I think that that is a part of it. Every afterlife has its own name. Yeah, that's true. Words trap people from simple truth. That's all I'm saying. Sometimes intuition is good guide. As a witch, if you don't agree, then I don't know what to think. Everyone believes what they're going to. Okay, I'm sorry, Doc. I've completely lost your train of thought. I'm sorry. I can't really follow it. It's not your fault. It's my fault because I'm trying to follow all these chat links, or not chat links, but the train of thoughts in the various chats I'm reading. And I haven't followed yours. I'm sorry. Let me see. Matthew says, I knew solitary practitioner. What would you suggest to do for a face Mabon ritual? Well, the first thing I would suggest, Matthew, is stop calling it Mabon. To be quite honest, it's a September equinox. Mabon is the name of a Welsh deity. It doesn't have any historical context to the September equinox. But I think the September equinox is a feast day. It's a celebration of recognizing the turn into winter, going back to family, storytelling, preparing, getting ready to sort of hibernate and to go into the winter season. A lot of our celebrations are based upon agricultural seasons, and this was a time when you would sort of reap the harvest, begin to start to smoke meats and store grains and do all this thing. So it's a story and it's a preparation for the dark time coming. And then the next one is Samhain, which is a season, the end of summer, or a lot of Christians, Catholics call it Halloween. Wicca is male. Yes, exactly, Mary. WICCA is male. WICCE is female. Fishhead, I'm game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Fishhead. So we'll have to work. I think I sent you a couple of private messages, so I'll contact you again because I think that'd be a great conversation to have. Hey, Chris, how's it going? I don't believe everyone's evidence, and absolute belief in anything is no better than religion. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I mean, I have crazy ass beliefs. So, you know, I don't know. I can't prove my crazy ass beliefs exist. So, you know, how am I gonna judge that another person's crazy ass belief isn't legitimate? You know, I mean, I've never seen the evidence for any kind of a deity, but that doesn't mean that if evidence wasn't given to me that would convince me otherwise, that I wouldn't change my mind. Like if suddenly God appeared to me right here and now and did some sort of a miracle, my belief would change. But to this point, I don't have any, I've never experienced anything like that. So it's not so much I don't believe as in I lack a belief, you know. I think that's the best way to describe it. Hey, Pulse, how's it going? If everyone's policies, everyone else's belief, then you're worse than a bunch of church because you should do it. Yeah, exactly, right. You scared me with the whole Wiccan terrorism thing. Well, yeah, I know. I was just making the point that if you know, like if we had some sort of a book or we had some sort of a concept of, you know, like we should kill infidels or do something to that effect, you know, yeah, then I would seriously like, okay, do I really want to identify myself as a Wiccan anymore? You know, but that hasn't happened yet, and I really, 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 really hope it never, ever, ever does. Run, Grant, they're talking about casting spells and shit. You guys are crazy. I'm the high priestess for the Mabon ritual. My coven this week. My first time is... Oh, awesome. Congratulations, Mary. So Mary's going to be the high priestess for the Mabon ritual, and that's awesome. I mean, that's one of the things I'll be honest about Wicca is one of the things I really appreciate is ritual. There's something about ritual which is really, there's something about it that is just really, I just enjoy it. There's an aspect of my personality that really resonates with ritual. I think ritual is, I don't know what it is in human beings, but there's something about going through the act of doing something symbolically representing something else that just, it really appeals to me. You know, I don't know exactly how to describe it. I don't know what kind of neuroscience is there. I don't know what kind of logic is there, but there's something about that sort of letting go of rational thought and just trying to do some kind of a ritual that represents or is symbolic of something else. That it's like art to me. You know, it's like, why do you choose Picasso over, you know, who's a good abstract artist? Yeah, Renoir versus Picasso. You know, Renoir was a very realist. Picasso was very surrealist. You know, it's just, you know, I don't know how to describe it. Disagree with you, my friend. By the way, was that my neighbor Pulse that just showed up? Yeah, yes, it was. Yes, it was. That's okay, Fishhead. You can disagree with me. I don't care. You know, it's okay. Disagree with me all you want. I'm just saying that all of your disagreements are probably not going to change my mind, but I'm willing to talk to you, you know. But I don't think I am absolutely 100% certain, Fishhead, that I can convince you of anything. I already know that. I've learned that. This is something that I learned probably when I was 20 years old, 25 years old. We don't have the ability to change other people's minds. People change their own minds. So I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to change your mind to believe anything, Fishhead. But if you believe that you can change my mind, I'm open to it. Go for it. But it's my experience has shown otherwise. So do you believe in any supernatural stuff? Not really. I do believe in magic. I do believe that that we are capable of changing our future. Yes. I personally do. I think belief itself is dangerous at all. Are you catching on now? I think belief itself is dangerous at all. No, I'm not catching on. What's magical if not directed will? Definitions deceive you. Okay. Shit, got to go back to that old Tool song. Tool is awesome. Jesus, won't you fucking whistle something but the past and done. Okay. I would magic faster than the speed of light that happens. Why can't we not be sober? I just want to start this over. Haha. Okay, so I think they're talking about Tool songs. Killing folks for religious belief has got to be the ultimate ugliness when it comes to religion. Yes, I absolutely agree with you, Fishhead. That's kind of my yeah. I agree with you. I think that that's where it's very dangerous, is when we begin to impose our beliefs. I guess if I was going to simplify it and break it down, it's when we try to impose our beliefs onto other people. I think that that's when it's dangerous, you know. And I think in a way, people who commit acts of terror in the name of religious ideology or any ideology is well, actually, it's not that simple. It's pretty complex, but yeah, I agree with you. It's when other people begin to harm other people in the name of their religion when it gets really, really scary. Go with Dolly. Belief is a virus, period. Doubt it not. Okay. Disagreement. End of this world. I attended an ATO. Hi, Magic. Artemis. Is that... is that Poke Runyon's group, ATO? The Artemis Temple Orientis? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But Mary, is that Poke Runyon's group down in Southern California, ATO? Give us this money, Jesus. I'm not your enemy, but minds get changed all the time. Yeah, okay, I agree. Minds do get changed all the time. We can talk about that, because I don't think that beliefs are changed by someone, but I could be wrong. Again, I'm open to it. Something special about a ceremony like that. If your mind doesn't change, then can you honestly say you have grown? Something like that is. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I think I need to clarify. I don't believe that I have the. I do not think I will ever be able to convince, like, let's say, somebody like Ken Ham that God does not exist. I just don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Sorry about hitting the microphone. And I don't believe that I can talk to Fish Head Salad and convince him to stop being an atheist. I don't believe that I have that ability. Now, other people may be able to change other people's minds. Sure, that's fine. But it's a form of acceptance to understand that people are going to believe what they want to believe, and just telling them that they need to change their mind is not sufficient enough. You can keep giving them evidence and evidence and evidence and hope that they change their mind, but you simply doing it is not changing their mind. Their mind changes over time, maybe because they actually begin to open themselves up to that evidence or open themselves up to that possibility. But we do not change people's minds. Minds change on their own, maybe through external forces. So somebody can supply somebody with a lot of evidence or good arguments or whatever, and then that person's mind may change over time. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I think that you do need to open yourself up to, yeah, and I think that that is how we grow. Stop being a, yeah, exactly. Let's see. Hey, obvious internet troll, how's it going? Any idea on when you might do a batshit crazy zone? Oh, yes, Matthew. Yes, I need to do another batshit crazy zone. I will definitely work. I have a video that's coming out that I think would be a good example, or make a good batshit crazy zone. So, yes, Matthew. Next week, I'm probably going to have one. But this recent Bill Schnoblin episodes that I've been creating have been taking up a lot of my time, and then work and other personal stuff I've got going on in my life. But yes, I would say next week I will have a batshit crazy zone out. I will definitely make that a priority. Good. Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you guys like those batshit crazy zones. Fishhead Salad makes some great videos too. He's been kind of been busy lately with other stuff, but he has some great videos out there on batshit crazy stuff. Half of what I say is true, half of what I say is false, all of it to make all think for themselves, and all of it is subject to change without notice. Okay, sounds good. Exactly. You can have good discussions without trying to convince people to change their mind. People periods aren't spaces. Laughing out loud. Bill is triggered because Halloween is coming. Yes, that is actually the video that I have coming up, which is going to be on Halloween. Well, yeah, I actually yeah, I have a video on that coming out, but it's not Bill talking about it. Somebody else. I bet Bill loves Halloween. Bill is insane. I mean, I've completely come to that conclusion. Bill is absolutely insane. Bill Schnoblin is somebody who claims to have been in the Illuminati. Okay, he claims to have lived off of human blood for 18 months. This man is absolutely insane. And the problem is that people actually believe him. Another prayer alert at your, yeah, really. Exactly, another prayer alert. Yes, exactly. So I feel kind of stupid because none of my Patreons came today. I was hoping that Animus would show up, but maybe he's busy, and Mary's not in the mood, which is okay. Not gonna try to twist her arm. Timing is everything. You are giving me a compliment, and my Christian wife is popping in. Be right back. Okay. All right, Fishhead. Let's see. I don't want anyone to change their mind. That would be a belief which is what I am against. I want people to examine the reason they have belief and not gnosis. Yeah, I think that individual beliefs are interesting. I don't really want to change people's minds either way about anything. I think that people need to not take things so seriously. I think that if you can't laugh at yourself, and if you can't laugh at your own beliefs, I think that that's where you start going down a dangerous path, because you have to be able to laugh at yourself. That's kind of now I'm going to go back to shamanistic cultures, but you'll often find in many various cultures they have a trickster figure, somebody who just who takes the piss out of you, who kind of makes you laugh at yourself and not take things so seriously. And I think that that's where religion or some beliefs begin to really start going down a dangerous path, is when they start taking themselves so fucking seriously. If you take yourself too seriously, I think that that's where you start going down a dangerous path. You have to be able to laugh at yourself and laugh at the concepts, laugh at the ideas, laugh at those things. If you don't, then I think that it just sets you up for trying to take everything too seriously. Is it pronounced Mabon or Mabon? Mabon. I believe, I think the best thing to do is to look at the oh man, I can't even pronounce it. The Mabinogion. So the Mabinogion is a book of Welsh stories, and that's where Mabon is in, and that's where Mabon comes from. So, however, the Mabinogion or Mabinogion, Mabon. Oh crap, I don't even know how to spell it. But I think that's where the pronunciation would be from. But again, I don't like the name for the September equinox to be Mabon or whatever you want to call it. If you look into the history of that, it was just kind of given that name, and to me, it's caught on. A lot of people call it that, but I don't call it that. I mean, if people want to call it whatever, that's fine. But to me, it'll still be the September equinox. But again, I'm also very much into history. I love looking at the history of my own practice, my own craft, looking at the history of European witchcraft and the history of Wicca, especially. And there's a lot of history there, but a lot of people like to kind of brush it off and sort of ignore history. And that's a shame, because the Western occult tradition is very rich. There's a lot of fantastic information there. And like I said, when you start looking at the history of European witchcraft and the Western occult tradition, you begin to see how our practice today has evolved. It wasn't invented back in 1939 by Gerald Gardner. It's actually quite rich and goes back a lot further than most people want to admit. Let me see. Very likely. Hard to say without seeing his personal life. Yeah, I mean, it's there's a great I think in the second episode of Bill Schnoblin's video, there's a link to Frater Barabbas's blog post, and Frater Barbarus was somebody who was in Bill Schnoblin's coven. And he does a really great, like 4-part or 5-part blog on Bill Schnoblin and just that coven. And he really gives an excellent snapshot of what Bill Schnoblin was. Bill Schnoblin was a narcissistic person who's really kind of out of touch with the reality. He believes his own stories, and he was raised in the house where his parents sort of bought into this concept, which I haven't really gotten to in the video, but he believes that he was almost like a Jesus figure, like he was some sort of a celestial person. That's one of the reasons why he was fascinated with UFOs. He believes that he was, you know, some kind of celestial baby that was actually born a female, because he's also gay and wants to repress that. And that's another thing, you know, he's repressing his own sexual desires. You know, he's known to have homosexual relationships with people, where there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there is anything wrong with it, but if you have homosexual or bisexual tendencies, explore them, you know, do them. Don't suppress them, because I think that if you try to suppress it, it's going to come out in negative ways. But again, that's my own opinion. I'm not a psychologist or anything. Link, 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 send link, 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 link. Everybody wants a link, link. All right. Let me see if I can get it. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Actually, I probably have it in here. I probably have it from a previous one. No, that's not it. Let me see. Links, PS Magic, quotes, article link. Let me see. Quotes. That's Frater Barbarous. Okay, so what I'll do is I will post, this is just to a random, let's see, actually. No, that's his blog. So it's from the 2010. Let's see if I can find the first one. February. The first one he did was in 2010 in February. I'm getting the link. Part 1. There we go. So this is the first part. So this will give you, and then you can follow that link. It's a well-written article. So here's the link to the blog. I'm putting it in here now. You guys can go and take a look at it. I think it's a really good read. Let me see. It's a shame, really, that we are so obsessed with Eastern philosophy and Western is just as rich. I think that's why I started studying Celtic mythology and Wicca. Yeah, I think that a lot of people were fascinated by Eastern philosophy because it was kind of unusual and kind of new. But yeah, I mean, our Western occult tradition it's very, very rich, and I absolutely do agree with you. And I think it's been placed on the back shelf for too long because it's considered to be, you know, antithesis of religion or antithesis of Christian culture. But I don't necessarily believe it is. There's actually in the Western occult tradition, obviously, especially like in the Key of Solomon, there's a lot of Christian mysticism in there, you know. There's a whole lot of chatter and chatterbait going on. Isn't that what they do on chatterbait? I'm the fool in the deck. Sorry, I just like having out of the box discussions and an occultist, not a witch by your terms. Okay. I never resonated with Eastern philosophy or New Age stuff. Yeah, and New Age stuff is just kind of like it's the you know, it's just too out there for me. I agree with you. True Druidic history is amazing, in my humble opinion. Yeah, if we could find any true Druidic history. There's no, I mean, all the information we have about Druids, unfortunately, is by people who are outside looking in on their culture. But if you look at a lot of the quote unquote European pagan traditions, they're very, very advanced. the there's just our pre-pagan or pre-Christian pagan cultures were very advanced, incredibly advanced. And so the Druids were supposedly to have had a complex legal system. They memorized great deals of tracts of lineages, laws, all sorts of things. So and their schools were supposedly to have been like 30 years long, like kind of like what we have with the university. So whatever they taught for 30 years is probably pretty complex. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff we don't know about the Druids, and I wish we knew more about them, but we don't. So in my eyes, the very manipulation of words, terms, and definitions is a form of magic. Yeah, yes, language is absolutely a form of magic. That is one of the reasons why there's words in ritual. I mean, words are magic. That's language. If you even the idea of creating, let's say, sigils or using magical alphabets goes all the way back to that. Symbols to represent ideas, symbols to represent things is how we got alphabet, how we got language, how we got words, at least, the written form of words, and then the spoken form of words. Definitely, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I agree with you 120% on that one. I can't explain why I like magic so much. Yeah, exactly. It is. It's unexplainable. Well, at least for some people it is. I mean, I know why I enjoy my practice, because it involves ritual. There's a lot of stuff it involves, and I've seen magic work. Now, when I've tried to explain it to other people or try to explore how things work, there's a reason for everything, and you can break it down to a coincidence. And I completely accept that, Nothing in my life has poof manifested out of absolutely nothing. No atoms have formulated or created something in front of me. No demon has popped up and granted me any wishes or anything like that. That is not what magic is. Magic is not waving a wand and poof, something pops into existence. That's not what it is. Which goes back to what I was saying. I have loved the occult since I was a child, so it was born into me. That's what I meant. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, sure. Language is needed for the brain to develop. Yeah. I find the Hermetic Kabbalah fascinating. Lots to learn there. Yeah, the Kabbalah is something that's, the Kabbalah is a huge study. There's the Kabbalah with a Q, and then there's the C Kabbalah. So I think there's the Hermetic occult Kabbalah, there's the Christian Kabbalah, and then there's the Jewish mystic Kabbalah. So again, as I said, don't let terms trap you. I was literally manipulating the perception of words while everyone is telling me I have to cast spells. No, that I think I understand where you're going with that. What I was saying is, if you are a painter, you paint. If you are a mechanic, you're a mechanic. You fix cars. If you're a butcher, you work with meat. You know the various cuts of meat. You know how to cut meat and all the various parts of an animal. If you are a witch, you cast spells. That's what witches do. And so what you're talking about, to have a witch that doesn't cast spells, yeah, you can do that. But like I said, I don't care if people want to call themselves a witch and not cast spells. I really don't care. I'm so tired of that. But it doesn't make it's just, why would you call yourself something if you don't do it? That's my main point. Like, if you don't paint, why call yourself a painter? If you don't fix cars, why call yourself a mechanic? if you don't know the various cuts of meat and you don't know how to cut meat and you don't know how to wrap meat, why call yourself a butcher? If you want to practice if you want to practice pagan religions, then you are a pagan and you are practicing pagan religions. There's already a term for it. It's called a pagan priest or priesthood of a pagan. You don't have to be a witch to be a pagan or worship ancient gods. Or those two things are separate. You can be a person who casts spells and worship pagan gods. Yes. But one does not mean you have to be the other. There's a huge gray area there. So I'm anyhow, I hope I didn't offend you there, but I just, it doesn't make any sense to me to use the wrong word for something when there's already a word out there for it. It's like trying to manipulate language, and that's sort of trying to manipulate consciousness. And we actually see that happening right now. I don't want to get political, but you see this happening now in the media where people are trying to manipulate language to mean something that it no longer means. And that is a form of manipulation. And there's already words for certain things. You don't have to create new words for them. So anyhow, it is 6:57. I am going to end the stream. If there's any other questions that people have, I'll be happy to try and answer them. But other than that, I think I'm going to end the stream at my time, 7 o'clock. So that's in about 2 minutes. Also a note, and Mary, this will interest you. I'm going to be having these Patreon streams just once a month, probably like the first week of every month. So I won't have them every Wednesday. I'll just have them once a month, at least the Patreon stream. And then it's just the way that my time schedule is. And then 7 p.m. on Saturdays, I will have those probably once a month too. So garden gnomes shouldn't call themselves former vampires. Exactly, Dark Star. I like that. That's really clever. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Garden gnomes should call themselves former vampires. So, all righty. Thank you all. I really appreciate this. This was a lot of fun. Doc, I'm sorry if I wasn't able to completely follow your train of thought there. So, but yeah, but I'm going to have this probably next. Let me see. The next one I'm going to have is in October. So the next one will be October the 4th. So I will have another one of these Hangouts on October the 4th. All righty. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Have a good night and blessed be.